So if you saw the previous video, you'll know that Tom sent this with the Atari 1050 disk drive, and I believe he wants me to service this, fix it and send it back. We've got power in on the back, we've got the SIO, serial input output connections there. He sent a cable to test with. I hear a bit of plastic rattling around in that, and I do on the other tape deck he sent me as well, which you'll see in another video. Immediately, cosmetically it's in very good condition. Obviously there is something making a little rattle, I think. Might just be a, I don't know, small particle of the case or something. So we'll have a look at that. But this button is stuck down, look. Now he did say he's included some 3D printed parts, which I presume go in this tape deck, because he's, as I said, there are two different ones. An XC11 I think I've got to look at. Anyway. Let's start just by tearing it down. We'll clean it. I'm not even going to test it as things stand. We'll just tear it down, clean it, service it, and then maybe give it a try. He sent some tapes to test it with as well. So I've got a Phillips screwdriver here, figuring that's what we're going to need. There's maybe one of these posts is broke, because that just felt a bit loose there. Let's just try and get these screws out. Now that post's alright, because the screw is going around okay. If you're working on a surface like this, just make sure you've not got anything hard underneath, like metal particles or anything that could scratch the top of it, but yeah, it's pretty tidy this amount at the moment. 3 screws there. One of them hasn't come all the way out, has it? It's that one. So I'm guessing this, yeah, the wires are holding the top part on, and on regards to the front, look, there's that bit of plastic. So, right, the camcorder SD card filled up. So, where I was, I'll just strap back on again. How does this, well, there we go. Plastic piece come off, it's clipped in. Maybe as we got a black piece of plastic there, look. It's like the bottom is clipped in, the top is clipped in a few different places here. There's a real risk of damaging this if I'm not careful. And pulling it down, look, pulling it this way, away from the front, it's just come off there. No worries, so let's just do the same there, we go. Yeah, and there's wires here, look. Oh, there are wires, not there is wires. Some people say I can speak English. I don't think I can. I was joking about on Discord the other week, I said I speak 2 languages. I'm fluent in rubbish, and my English is like 5 out of 10. Let's just try and disconnect there, that JST's little flap thing there you pull. And here it looks like you've got 2 of the little things, and maybe you just sort of pull away as you lift that up. Let's just try and put that flat and disconnect that carefully. Wow, that's not coming out, is it? So I mean, already we've got 2 bits of plastic here. We've got a cream piece and a black piece. The black piece might just be one of the clips from around here. And I haven't forced it. This is the thing, I haven't forced it at any point. It's just what was rattling around inside. So there we go, head that off, there we go. So that's the board out of the way. So I think we'd be foolish to not consider checking these caps and maybe replace the main ones there, but just measure these. It's a bit slapdash manufacture, that, isn't it? The way things are just like literally thrown in there. I mean, look at the legs on that transistor there. There's a chance they could have been almost touching, Anyway, we'll have an inspection around that. The curious thing with this, can you see these here, these little leaf switches? Yeah, that one's bent right up, like that's been forced. Can you see that? Look at it and compared with this one here. This one's nice and straight, and that one's like bent right over this way. So those need straightening up, and we can get contact cleaner in between them and stuff, clean the surfaces up. So, and you've also got some sort of switch here, look. Yeah, there's a switch there for the stop play, probably, something like that. It could be a bit challenging trying to get this back together, actually, now I think about it. Maybe that got bent as a result of pulling this like that. That's a possibility. It makes you wonder how on earth you're supposed to service these. Maybe you're supposed to clip the front off first so that you don't have to hinge it. I don't know. Anyway, there's no permanent damage here. These things can all be fixed. So, just looking at this front bit now, there we go. You could just gently sort of persuade that out. There we go, it's on its own look with its LED. So just looking at that little black piece of plastic, trying to work out where that came from. It's here, isn't it? There's a bigger piece of it missing there. There's two pieces, look, there's a piece there. So yeah, one of those little things there just needs gluing back together, I think. I mean, I've got two pieces that look like they could almost be the length, and maybe there's three pieces. Anyway, there's enough clips to hold that back on. Okay. And this little cream piece of plastic here, no clues yet as to where that came from. Yeah, if you look at these here, can you see we've got like a little notch, a little notch. Down here we've got one missing and one missing. Both those are missing. So there might be another one in here. I don't think so though. So it's just those two, unless it's in the bottom half. Nope. So maybe someone's been in this before, I don't know. Anyway, we've got a few belts to replace here. We've certainly got our work cut out for us. Another leaf switch there, look. We can clean that up. It looks very much like any of the other tape decks of that era. You know, I'm talking about like Spectrum and C64. It's subtly different, it's not exactly the same. So if we have a look at these here, you can see someone has been in this before, because those are epoxied. This is why he's given me these 3D printed parts to replace presumably the parts that go there. So, oh, I don't know, it's going to be a problem, this. The fact that someone's epoxied those, that is a problem. You know, I'm offering to look at something here where someone has glued those things in. How would you deal with these replacing the black bit when someone's put that much epoxy into there? You could argue that that's like now a permanent part of this key. That's a big problem. And just inspecting the carnage here with these things, you can see the. I mean, these might be alright as they are. I might just be leaving these epoxied ones as they are, to be fair. But you can see what's happened with this key. The key that sits down like that. The issue, if you look at the plastic here, there's no extended part that comes up here. Yeah? It's just flapping, which is why it falls down. What would normally happen is you'd press, let's just see if we can do it. You would press this and it'd press that plate there, like up that. But fast forward, advance that is broken, so it's going to need that part replacing. Now Tom kindly provided these 3D printed parts here, so let's just have a look at these, see if they're all the same, see what quality they are. I mean, they look really good quality, those, really good 3D prints, and just compare them. I'm guessing they're all going to be identical. It's not like there's one key that's a bit oddball on these, I don't think. Yeah, they're all looking the same. They've all got like a little notch there, the actuator part. Same, yeah. So they're all the same, those. Yeah. As I say, I'm reluctant to replace that one, and that one, and that one. Because, well, the amount of epoxy on them is insane. I think trying to get that epoxy off would be a bad idea. You know, it's solid, it's right down into the key. So I think those keys will probably outlast these, if I'm honest. Yeah, I've no reason to panic about that, and I think we'll just replace the one that's broke and replace the two there. I think that's probably the best course of action. So we'll do that first, I think. So we'll unscrew the mechanism from the plastic here. Let's get that out. That's a different size one. So far though, the other screws are almost the same length. One of them looks like it's come from something else actually. So how is that held in there? Is it this one here? Yes it is. We've got a screw there, it's got some thread lock stuff on it. And then hopefully it's going to lift up like that. There we go. So we've still got some wires attached there. No we don't, it's in a cable thing. Can you see that cable? It's in a grip here. Just carefully just try and pull that out. That's it. And then hopefully the mechanism will come out of that. Put that lid away. So yeah, that should just free us up now to get there's usually a circlip on these. It's on that end. Yeah, there you go. Circlip there. Get that circlip off. Most of these tape decks work the same way. The bar that goes across the buttons, held on with the circlip, you remove that, the bar then comes out, all the keys fall off. So from that aspect, it's pretty straightforward. And again, this does look very, very, very similar to the C64 CPC Spectrum Plus 2 cassette decks. You've got the same arrangement, which you generally have because, well, why would someone reinvent the wheel? There's probably one or two manufacturers back then that produced these mechs like this, and people cloned them, you know, so you ended up with the same size pinch roller, the same size idler thing here, the same gears. These gears look almost identical to a plus 2 or plus 3. And one thing it does wear on these is the rubber tyre there, the rubber thing there, obviously the belts. You get a clutch usually built into, I think, here. Yeah, so it's sometimes worth taking this apart. There might be a circlip or something, or a screw somewhere there. And these springs you get, I mean, the springs here, look, and this is one of the problems. This spring here is not where it should be over there, probably because this post's missing. So we're going to need to put that spring back in place as well. The one here is bent up, and that one, because of the blooming epoxy. I'm tempted to almost slice a little channel in there for that spring on both of those, just to keep it centered, because it could, I don't know, come out. You can see that, look, it's coming down, because there's nothing to hold it in place like there is here. Doesn't need much, you don't want to weaken the epoxy. And lots of little springs like this, these can sometimes break, they can come detached. I don't see that many. There's one there, there's one here, and those are the things that as you press the buttons to engage the mech, as various parts move around, then it pulls something one way or the other. It's like this is a good example here, I think. That's on one of those springs. It can go like that. Anyway, let's get that circlip off and attempt to not lose it. So the best way to do this is see if we can rotate it. We can rotate it around this way. And there are two little holes there. You can get proper circlip tools that are two little holes, it's like two of these next to each other, two pins that go into each hole, and you just pull that way. But you can just do it with a tool like this if you're very careful. What I tend to do is put my finger over it like this and do that. There you go, you can see I got it off. But if your fingers are over it, you won't lose it, is the point. Carefully put that down, and let's carefully push this bar out. I'm just looking at these, they're all the same, aren't they? Yeah, there's nothing different about them. We know that from the replacement 3D printed bits. And then as we pull this here, I'm just rotating it like that because it's sticking in a few places. Needs lubricating, I think. There we go. That's all the keys out. So that's the broken one. Let's have a look at this. How does this work? Yeah, I think what you're supposed to do is break this off, and then the gap here overhangs. Does it? Yeah, it does like that. And then it'll be in the right place. So it's going to, the one side of it here is going to be inside the gap, and then the other side, the outside there, is going to be on this side. Now, if I put it on this side first to show you, if I can, it's going to be like that. Yeah, but on the other side. Might not even need to glue it, but I think it would be stupid to not glue it. Having said that, it's probably all going to hold in place, to be honest, without glue. But yeah, that is a bit worrying because we've got to sort of somehow get that off. Anyway, before I do that, I will just take the rest off. So the springs are the thing here, look, this is holding it. So what I need to do is just lift that spring gently, pull the key out. Same with that one. There, just lift it up. It's in the channel on that one because it's a proper key. It's got a little gap there for that spring. You need to make sure you don't lose any of these springs. Yeah, that one's straight out. That one's straight out. And that one needs lifting. Yeah, so that's all those. So I think the next thing I'll do is clean this up. Wow, that belt's looking a bit sloppy, isn't it? Yeah, so the counter belt absolutely needs replacing. Can you see this? It's misshapen here. It's got like a kink upwards. Just the way it's been sat for however many years. Assuming that's on right, and it looks like it is. I mean, it might be because it's not in the play mode at the moment. It might move a little bit, that, and get tensioned. I don't think so. I don't think this moves. It's this that moves here. That goes up and down like that. And this moves across. So, it needs a new tape counter belt without a doubt. Unless that's supposed to be routed like that, but no, look how loose that is. Yeah, so I'll see if I can get a new belt set for this. That belt there, that looks alright. So I've ordered a new belt set from Data Serve Retro. And well, some of their belt sets have been really good, and one or two of the CPC ones, I tend to find they just don't last. I put new belts on from DataServe, and within a week I'm getting slipping belts again, which I don't quite understand. But then I've had C64 belts from them and other belts, and they've been alright. So I don't know, maybe I just was unlucky and got some bad ones. But cotton bud and IPA, just going to have a clean over the whole of the metalwork here, grease and all, and the fluff, just get everything off here. And I could speed this up actually, let's just speed this up by using paper towel. We'll focus with the cotton buds in a minute. There's no point in using a piddly little surface area like a cotton bud to start with. Yeah, I do learn as I'm going along through my videos. If you watch some of the earlier tape decks, you know, I'd spend quite a lot longer with the cotton buds initially, and there's just no point. You can cover a much larger area this way. You just got to be careful with springs and things like that. I can see some there, but they're on the underside. Yeah, so cover the majority of your metalwork this way. I'm leaving those belts on for the moment, despite the fact they're going to be replaced. Can you see this little yellow mark here? Yeah, I think that's just where the belt has broken down, and I don't know, whatever's inside it has coloured the plastic, the metal, not the plastic. Some old crusty grease or something there, look, a yellow mark. And carefully around here, got some springs and things there, plastic pieces. Yeah, I know what you're going to think, IPA on rubber, it's not a problem. Lots of people will say don't use IPA on rubber, it dissolves it. You actually need to dissolve the surface on something like that in a minute, because you won't get it working any other way, really. You can take a file to it and or sandpaper and gradually rough up the surface, but from my experience you're always better off using cotton bud with some IPA, and you know, do clean the pinch roller with some IPA. Same with that roller there, that wheel, the idler tyre. I think it's called the idler tyre. That's the other thing, you know, I apologise in advance if I mislabel something in here. You know, I'm using my own vocabulary here, as there are parts in these that I don't know what they're called. You'll notice that from floppy drives, I'm like the worm gear, the worm bar and things like that. It's not called that. There's probably some other technical name for the part, and it might even vary from manufacturer to manufacturer in terms of what they call something. If you think I'm misnaming something, please correct me in the comments down below and explain why you think so. Yeah, so I'll take the opportunity to clean on these gears as well, on top of them, on the plastic, on the frame that's below here. It's interesting these go yellow, you know, they're probably sort of a little bit brittle, but I don't think they take a lot of strain though, so you tend to find the teeth seldom ever break off on them. I've never seen one with broken teeth, put it that way. We're going to jinx it now and break one. And we'll just unhook the belt from there for a minute, and just move it over there maybe, and just clean that. I mean, I've got this video footage to refer back to, so I could just take the belts off completely. And there are things you can do to belts. You can boil them, that sometimes helps. From my experience, it's a short-lived thing though, so. And if they've got kinks and bends and things in them, the heat doesn't always get that out. And when they are super stretched, even boiling them really has no effect. Little to no effect. Just rotating the cotton bud to get a cleaner part of it on there. Use a new one now, but you can see there's lots of dust and dirt coming off this. Yeah, sorry if I sound a bit nasally and chesty, I'm still getting over COVID. I mean, I've been, what's the word, negative now for almost a week and a half, I think, maybe heading towards 2 weeks, I don't know. But I think I've got long COVID, because I'm just like, still having chest pains, breathing is it's not normal, my heart rate is not normal. Yeah, there's nothing normal at the moment. And I just feel really dizzy and confused quite a bit. So yeah, focusing on all the little nooks and crannies, all the little gaps. And of course, if you've got compressed air, you could use compressed air to expedite the process, cleaning up something like this. And if you've not got compressed air, you could use a leaf blower. I was thinking about that. Anybody who's not got compressed air, you want to give something a blast out, switch your leaf blower into reverse. Take it outside and blast it with a leaf blower. Bear in mind, things like that could have bits of dust and garden waste still inside them. The last thing you want to do is cover it with a load of grass cuttings or something from doing that. You might want to blast it somewhere away from this first of all to make sure there's nothing coming out of the leaf blower. And I've done that before. I did that on my old Dell PC. It was absolutely caked in about 10 years of dust, and took it outside and used a leaf blower on it. So we'll also clean the surface carefully of these, and we can probably, just carefully try and push these around a little bit just to rotate them. The best way to do the pinch roller really is when it's all completely reassembled and working with new belts, because then you can press play and you can just put a cotton bud in there and just go like that, just pull it up as it rotates around. But you can just rotate yourself like this, try and move the cotton bud up and down a little bit as you rotate like that. You will get a little black mark. It's not a lot on there, so it's not really dissolving, but what it will be doing is pulling the surface back to a sort of cleaner state, because as the tape goes around there, you'd be amazed the tape coat comes off on the roller. I think that's one of the reasons why they go smooth. It's not that it's actually worn as such, it's that the coating of the tape is just like embedded in the surface of the roller. So very little's come off that, but if we look at that now, it kind of looks, it doesn't look like it did before, it looks shiny before. There are a few shiny bits on it, but that looks way better. So I think that's probably going to be alright when we come to test this. So the other clean end of the cotton bud here, we'll just clean these two heads. So we've got the play, the reed head there. Squeaky is what you want. It's a nice smooth surface. You've got very little chance of damaging that doing that, even if you press very hard. And don't press so hard as you bend something out of alignment, but you want that squeak. Same on the little guide there for the tape. Just give that a little clean. And then the erase head over here, same again. Squeaky, squeaky. And then there are a couple of other guides you get on these, tape guides. There's this little one here, a little nylon one, so I'll clean the surface of that as well. And then there's also a little metallic one on the end here, just like there was over there. So just try and do your best to clean that metal work there. So again, with the cotton bud, I can just get in some of these little gaps where we perhaps couldn't get before, just around here, being careful not to get fibres caught on springs and things. You can get cotton buds that don't have the, don't have suffer from the fibres coming off. Lint free is what they're called. I mean, specific ones for electronic, repairs and things like that will be lint free. Not Johnson's baby buds or whatever. I use like the value version, like Tesco or Asda value cotton buds. I mean, let's face it, a cotton bud's a cotton bud's a cotton bud generally. They probably all come from the same factory. Some of them go into the premium box and some of them go into the value box. It's like that with everything in life, really, isn't it? So again, we'll just have a wipe around some of these things that maybe I've emitted so far. And if you look at it in the light, you can actually see what's still got dust on it, where you've not touched it and where you have touched it. So like maybe up here. So then with this one here, again, this is one that's easy to do when it's actually operational. That rubber wheel, just put the cotton bud on the surface and rotate it around. Just rotate the cotton bud as well. Try and go around a few times, and then use the dry end as well, and go around a few times. You can see it is rotating there, just me using my finger. Turn my attention now to the underside, so you can see all the bits of dust and fluff that have come out as we've been doing that, and bits of paper towel perhaps. But again, I'm going to just have a clean around all these things, and we'll get some fresh grease on in a little bit. Yeah, and of course it does make it a bit harder if you're putting the grease on as you clean it up, because you can get grease all over your blooming hands. Yeah, use something metallic or solid to apply the grease, and let's just have a look what moves where. Yeah, so like there's a tiny little hinge point like there, isn't there, if I just lift that up. Yeah, I want it around the metal point so that when the metal goes up like that, it goes along the grease, if you see what I'm trying to say, like that. Yeah, that probably needs to be plain, does it, to work? That's the record. That's the record, so you probably need the record tab pressed in there. Yeah, you do. That's it. That's the record switch, or whatever you call it. It's a mechanical one, isn't it? How do you stop it now? It's over here somewhere. There we go. So that's, you know, when your tape's got the tab in, like that, it allows you to press record. You can press stop. But if you've not got the record tab in, you broke it out, you can't press record. And of course, you can see here, can you see where that little pivot point is there? It slides on the metalwork there, and there's no grease there. I don't think there was ever grease there. So again, that's somewhere where some additional grease, I'm getting grease all over my mat here, would benefit. I mean, the perhaps is I can see a bit of a black mark there, so if we just get some like that, and then we'll distribute some of this up there as well. So you've got friction here on that plastic part, can you see that? So you'd benefit, definitely, by having some grease up there. I'm just going to take some of this and try and redistribute it on the sides of this here, if I can. And it's one of those things, again, that's easy to do when it's all working. So I'm just going to move the tool here into the little line with the teeth like that. Just try and coat them. Look, you can see I've got some mollycoat going around there. And we'll do the same thing on that one. Now, it's annoying that at the moment that one's not engaged with anything, is it? What I mean is it's not pressing into another gear. And then focusing on things that move on the top, I've just got some grease there. And again, this spring here, can you see this spring? It goes through this little guide here. There's friction there. So I want to get some around that. There you go, you can see it's hopefully gone into the right spot there. And you can argue, get grease into your pivot points. But you see, that would mean dismantling that a fair bit to grease that particular pivot point. Sometimes you can get access to a pivot point, you know, from just looking at it side on and from a different angle, etc. Anyway, you get the general idea. I've covered most of what I want to do with in terms of clean up there and lubrication. We just need new belts on it now. And exactly the same thing as we did over there, a bit of grease on the metal tool there, onto these gears, and then just rotate. I'm just getting any excess off here now. There's just a few bits of excess, but I've rotated that round a number of times. You can see some of it there. There's a bit of grease in between the tooth. Also there, it doesn't matter. Any extra grease in that tooth will just, you know, and you can see it coming off on here on this worm thing. I'm not sure it's called a worm gear. Yeah, so it's the grease gets distributed over a period of time when you leave the little bit of excess there. Yeah, so very carefully using magnification and super glue, just glued the tiny piece there on, making sure that it's totally straight that way, and it's almost the right height there. You can see it's pointing upwards a little bit. It's not going to be a big problem, it's still going to hold in place. And then obviously we've got the other piece here. Oh, it's easier said than done. Sometimes fingers are the best thing. The best tool you can use in life is your fingers. Just try and straighten it out somewhat. That's it, I think. So yeah, just inspect from other angles. And where's it gone? So you can clearly see here there's just like a little, needs a little press like that. There, that'll do. So again, using gravity to my assistance, you know, just leaving it tilted that way so it glues that way, like that. So I'll support that somehow so that it glues this point here back on. So we haven't got that one, but it wasn't inside the case, so I can't glue that back on. And you can see the loop that I glued back on there in the two pieces. So all of those are okay. Granted, it's a bit wider towards its right side there. It's the best I could do really, because it's, you know, it's just got deformed a bit. You could heat with hot air. Be very, very, very careful heating things like this with hot air. You can find this type of plastic shrivels and shrinks, so that's probably not a good idea. What you could do though is just use your soldering iron and just gently rub across the top of it, just graze it, just gently, and graze the side there. And you may find you could just, you know, with a bit of pressure, reform it slightly, and the melting of the plastic there might just make it, you know, fit a bit better. But anyway, the front of that is really good. It just needs a bit of a polish and a clean up when we're done. Right, let's try and deal with these buttons, I think. So the bar, first of all, let's get some IPA and clean this bar up. It's crusty old grease. And then we need to clean the points here where that bar goes through. Again, just a cotton bud with some IPA and do a little bit of that. Same over here, and it goes right through on that side. It's interesting now, that side's much wider than this side. That's the side of the circlet though, isn't it? These, obviously, are going to do the same thing. We're going to need to push this through here just to get any grease and stuff out. Post down in the comments below, what do you think? Do you think I should be breaking every one of these off and putting the new things on? I don't know. I don't think so. I just think they've got broke in the past because they were forced or something, or I don't know, it got something dropped on it maybe. But maybe they all break. What I don't want to do though is break every one of these off just for the purposes of putting the new piece on. It just seems really wrong to me to break something deliberately because, you know, eventually it will break. I mean, granted, 3 of these have got epoxied to death anyway. And just to reiterate, we're going to have to break that round it off, aren't we? Well, that's going to be a bit dodgy. Cutting it off is the best way, like sawing it. Right, let's have a go. Let's just try. I don't know, let's try and cut into this and see what happens. Let's try and go down like that, maybe. Yeah, sawing with a knife is perhaps not the best thing to do. Yeah, I see no alternative, really, other than to do this. Try and sort of hacksaw that way in a straight line. Right, let's go back that way again. I get cramp in my hand. Nice and flat again. There we go. Wow, that was not too bad. It's just like not used to pressing at a weird angle. So you can see, maybe with a file, we could just file that little lip there. There's a little lip. And then the replacement is going to go, I'm going to try and get the throw around it. It's probably at this point I realised I'm doing this on the wrong key or something. Let's do it like that one there, so it's going to go that way. Yeah, so this is going to go over there like that and be pressed right down. It just feels like this bit here, is that not going to be a problem inside the case? I don't know. I mean, you can see it's pretty precision compared to this one. It's spot on, isn't it? It's spot on there. It's just whether this is a problem inside the case, I don't know. And of course, you might want to epoxy that, put a bit of glue in or something, but you know what, I'm reluctant to do that for just now. I think we just go with that as it is, because it's on a pivot point, it can't really come off. You know, I think that's just going to be alright. I don't think you need to glue it at all. So now we've done that, let me just move these out of the way, let's get the bar back on, let's get them in. Now let's just try it. And if one breaks in future, Tom has seen the process, it's not very hard to do. The hardest bit is just getting inside to start with, and that's not difficult now, I've done it. So yeah, you can keep these as spares if you ever need to do the others, but I wouldn't just replace them as things are at the moment. And you can also maybe consider putting some of the broken ones like these on the keys that you hardly ever use. For example, pause is a good one. Stick one of these on. And maybe play. Play's got a lot of stress, so I think we use the new one, wherever that is, on the play key, because you press play, the whole mechanism moves with play. So yeah, those are things to just think about when doing this type of repair. Just to get the order: record, play, rewind, fast forward, stop, pause. So it's record and play. Yeah, and the record and play, you're going to have a fair bit of stress, the play in particular. So let's do the record as one of the enforced ones, I think. And there could be a bit of chicken and egg here, where we might need to do the spring things on the other side, on the underside, before we can sort of get this in position. It's like, there we go, it's going through. And I think what we'll do here is just get a little bit of grease maybe into each one of these as we do it. there, hole there. That's went in really easy there. Really easy. Now we've got some on the bar already, so we might not need to put quite as much grease on the next ones. And let's get the next one in position. This is our new key, so it's going to be interesting. Like, does the hole need... There we go, no it doesn't. That looks perfect so far. And we get the third one. This one's been greased up as well. So you can argue that the one we've stuck there now sticks up, look. That's something that maybe nobody thought of. So this is going to have to come back out. It needs some precision filing. I mean, these ones aren't straight if you look at them, but then again, they're not positioned perfectly. That second one does definitely stick up, so we need to pull the bar back out, I think. Try and get it as flat as the three sides on it, because it's not at the moment. It's raised. And then just reevaluate. It still feels like it's sticking up here, look. Let me show you if I can get this out of the way without pulling everything off the bench. You can see here, it's sticking up. So annoying. I think more needs filing off that. Yeah, we're sort of there, aren't we? I'm not sure I want to go any further than that, because this one's sticking up marginally. Could be a bit of a pain, because we've got to try and retrospectively get these springs in the right places. It's like, say, it's that chicken and egg thing, like, how do you... You see, like, hang on, you can lift it up and over. Like, and then down. Underneath there, that's it. And then this one here, we're going to have to pull it out. You've got to be careful not to break these blooming things. And over. Hang on, right over. And now this is where these need filing down on. In fact, I'm just going to use the grinding pen on these. What we need is, in the epoxy here, just a slight channel like it about that position. Not too deep, because obviously you might weaken it, but if we don't have that little channel, the little spring is not going to go there, is it? That's it. So it's in that little, just a little edge, hardly anything, 1/2 millimetre engraved into that, which just means that that's got a spring on it. Shouldn't need to do this, it's just the fact that someone had put epoxy all over the bleeding things. I mean, that would have meant that these springs would never grip like they are doing here. That's gripping. So I think that's it. Let's just turn that over. We need the circlip on it, obviously, but I think you'll agree that's looking a lot better. It's not sinking down, and it's almost the same height as those other ones. It is a fraction out, but beggars can't be choosers. I don't want to file that anymore, I don't think. Anyway, let's get the circlip back on, and then with circlips, you just, let's say, you put your fingers over it again, like this, and just press centrally in the semicircle part until, there we go, it clips on. And then with the cotton bud, let's just clean around that because we've got silicone. And just inspect it to make sure the circlip is completely on properly. And it is, that's fine. So, yep, we are almost there, aren't we? We've got stuff on there, what's it called, Monaco. That's it, I'm happy with that. That is coming along wonderfully. So we just need the belts now, and to deal with maybe capacitors. You know, I might take this off and adjust it and glue it, because one thing I didn't foresee here is this. When you press down, just watch what happens. You put in a lot of strain, yeah, on the 3D print bit, because this surface is not held on there. So it probably does need just a drop of super glue under there to hold that on there, so that when you do press down, you're not going to break the 3D printed piece. Yeah, I think that's a thing. So I think I'm just going to file it a tiny bit more, see if we can get it slightly leveler, and then we'll put a bit of super glue under that side of it, so that when you press down, at least you're pulling the whole 3D printed apart. I'm not sure how long term lasting the 3D parts are going to be. Yeah, I was just testing the buttons there. The record button was going in and then staying in, and it wasn't going back. And it's the thickness here, it's the thickness of the epoxy that someone's used. And I can file it. That's probably what I'll do in a minute, just take the file to it. Let's just have a look at that. That's a bit better. Let's just do this side here. I mean, that epoxying did a really good job. It's pretty solid. As much of a mess as it looks, it is pretty solid. So I don't think I'd have any concerns about the epoxy giving way there. I think these are going to be stronger than 3D printed bits, to be fair. Right, so I have to admit this is taking me far longer than I thought it would. I need to do some final adjustments here. You can see we're still a little bit proud here, still a bit high on the replacement. So I need to do more on that. Let's just take this bar out. I'm going to clean this bar up again. I'm going to re-lube every one of these because these have been, it's been in and out, in and out. It's getting bits of dust on from the filing things down. Something I'll point out, I've shaved this one down here. I might have shown you some of this using the grinding pen on this. To grind this, I need to do a little bit more because it's too thick there at that point, which means when it's through there, yes, it's hinging properly, but what it's not doing is it's not releasing the metal thing there quite enough. So what was happening is the the right protect thing here was catching, yeah, so you could press like that and it sticks, and then you do that, then you can move it. But what was happening, it was sticking, and you had to pull it really hard because it was not coming back all the way because there was too much of this pressing onto the very edge here. Can you see that? It's like really tight there, yeah? So it just needs a wee bit more of what's almost there now. That one's almost done. But that is going to be so strong and resilient. The epoxied ones, I'm happy with them. The other ones obviously work really well, and they all fit really level, really flat, no issues at all. So we just need to do two things. We need to, and you can see I've done a bit of this already, file down here, file, to get this to sit lower down, because the moment it's there, you know, at the moment it sits there, it just needs another, I don't know, 0.5 millimetre, if that. But then also I'll get some super glue on here and push that into place there, let that set before we stick it in, because as you pull the key, can you see that it lifts away, yeah, and it needs to stay completely flat. You could epoxy it. I need to maybe pull it up a tiny little bit. There we go. So we'll just leave that now and see how we get on. The other thing I could do is just get a little bit of super glue down there like that. So let's try that. Let me get the pin back in there again, just try and free that up. And herein lies the next problem. I am so fed up with this tape deck. Once this is set, I press play and it's split. You see that? Split. Yeah. So the glue, you know, the super glue, has not bonded to that key at all, which is a possibility, and I thought that was going to be a possibility. Let's try and take this out. The spring's going to be on there now. Oh, god damn spring. Yeah, it's that spring there just holding on the end of it, that's it. Yeah, so if I just pull this, look, it just comes straight off. So the super glue, it does nothing. It does nothing at all to that plastic. Epoxy, well, we know someone's epoxied it previously and it seems to have held. I don't know, I'm reluctant to use epoxy. Probably going to need to chip that off now. It'll probably come off. Yeah, it's coming off really easy, look. With my thumb, the super glue's just come straight off it. So, I don't know, my thoughts are, and it's not even glued onto that either. Super glue onto that 3D printed part is another surface that just super glue don't like. Is it PLA or something? Yeah, anyway, so the other thought I had was, assuming that's the right way around, I think it is to put it in place, drill a hole right through to the other side, and then try and get a nut or a bolt or a screw or something through, but that's going to be fun, isn't it? Because you've got such a small cavity there, try and get a nut or a screw in there and then tighten it on one side or the other. So I think regardless of whether I use a screw or a bolt or whatever, or something with a nut, I need to drill a hole anyway. I could drill like that. I think I'm tempted to just drill like this first of all, so that I could, you know, get the hole in this. This is going to be an interesting challenge on its own. So I want to go sort of in the middle. Can't really see very clearly what I'm doing here. The lighting's awful. You just switch that lamp on. Yeah, I want to go in the middle But you see, if we used a screw, the screw might not grip that PLA very much or very well. When you start levering like that, the PLA could just give way, which is why a nut is a better answer, because the nut's just going to distribute the pressure a little bit. And this is where you want everything as straight as you can get them before you start to drill. Just got to try and find a hex bit here, which is always fun with this, just because of the way it's printed. There's one there that's like pointing towards me. I suspect when we get to the actual key part, it's going to stop, and then I can just captive the nut on the other side of the PLA. Yeah, you can see that. Can you see that coming through? It's coming through, look. So, I guess the only thing now is to try and line this up with this, get it how we want it. So, the hook's at the front as it goes like that. We need the nut on this side here. So I now need to melt the nut into that. The key here is to melt that into that surface there, so that the hole is exactly where the hole needs to be. Because what I'm thinking is, if I get the nut on there and then melts, it's going to make a little indent potentially, yeah, and be sort of keyed in the right place where we want to push it down. Do you know what I mean? Like that is not going to go down where I want it exactly. Just look and see if that PLA is melting. It is. There we go. That's what I was after. So it's kind of keyed, if you like, by... Oh, that's going to be hot now. Just put a wet finger on it. It's kind of keyed by the process there. So if we just unscrew this, let's just have a look what's going on there. It's actually staying in place. Look. That's a pleasant surprise. Unscrew it all the way. Stop every now and again, inspect. You see, we need to level it a bit. I think it's not quite level. It needs to press up this left end here marginally, like that, and then here. I think that's it. Now, if my eyes don't deceive me, we've got PLA inside it. Yeah, it needs a millimetre or two. It needs something trimming off the end here. Be aware of your eyes and anything in the local vicinity, because when the bits ping off these, they ping at very high velocity. But you see, it can mush the ends, so I might need to use the grinding thing on it just to smooth off any imperfections. But if we trim that down like this, show down. See, that didn't quite work, did it? Let's just open it back up again. It's squashed it, look, it hasn't trimmed it. I need to get this tighter. Like that, that'll do. Put it back in the same point. You've got to hold on to the bit you want, otherwise you might lose it. It's broke off actually, I think. Yeah, it has. We broke the end off, that's alright. This needs charging up as well, it's getting a bit low as things stand. Game is just to get this to go through and screw in. Yeah, just looking on CAD-CAM there is perhaps the easiest way. As I screw this in, again I'm screwing here, see what happens with the nut. It's pushing the nut, but look, it's threaded. Right, I finally did it after about 4 attempts, and what I did is I used the file and I wedged the file like this here, yeah, at an angle, until I could see the screw coming through. So in other words, I'm pressing the nut towards the thread, and then it's forced the screw to correct its threading, if that makes sense, and then obviously it's gone through the nut. And if I'm just gentle here, I'm not pushing, I'm just rotating. Rotate the screw, so we get it all the way in. It's going to go all the way up to the plastic probably. We trimmed a bit off, it should be right up to it though, I think. If I've measured it right. There we go, it's there now. If we look at here, see that? So, is that going to hold? I don't know. I'd like to think the nut will hold it. Yeah, and I was thinking about this. The play button gets way more stress than anything else. So do you know what? These epoxy ones, I'm going to take this one off. We're going to use this as the play, because these epoxy ones are better than the 3D printed parts. and we'll use that for rewind. Stick that one there, I think. Let's try it. Let's try pressing rewind. Yeah, that's not too bad. Play though, yeah, a lot of stress on play. That's why it was breaking. Just looking at this to see, is that separate when we do that? I don't think it is. What I was going to say is these things. That's a good rectangular washer. You take one of those off there and completely crimp it down so that the end bits there are flattened out. You've got a nice wide rectangular washer. So that would be a good candidate to stick over the top of that if you wanted to spread the load across all of the PLA rather than it be at the point where the screws go through, if you see what I'm trying to say. So I may just do that. I may just take that out and put one of those there. I am going to just put one of those rectangular washers on there. So yeah, this is just thinking outside the box here. So just some paper with, in this case we don't need to bend it, it's you know, it's sort of correctly formed, it's not been overly stressed, this one, and get it between the two contacts there, like that, and then sort of just press the contacts together with your fingers gently, not in such a way that you bend the thing, but then just like slide forwards and backwards with it, like that. But yeah, can you see there's like a black line came out there, and on there as well, look, a little black line. And then you can use a dry bit, same thing, get it between them, squeeze them together, and just gently move forwards and backwards, like that. That'll do. So that one there is fine, but we do have two on the PCB. We'll take this PCB out in a sec. So this one here is definitely bent right over, so we need to do something with that, e.g. push it this way like that a few times to get it as straight as this one, and it more or less is there now. And then just inspect, does the front part need pushing anywhere? No, that'll probably do, but the front bit here, you know, this one just needs moving that way marginally. There we go, that'll do, I think. And again, just get between the two contacts, squeeze them together gently, and slide around a little bit, up and down, sideways. Yeah, a tiny bit of stuff come off there. They probably do have a coating, so you wouldn't want to do it too much, and you want to be careful what you use, but a little bit of deoxit, I'm sure will be okay there. So that's those cleaned up and more or less realigned. We could try and push this one forward a little bit like that as well, because they do over time as they get pressed this way, this way, this way, this way, they bend over slightly and then they become less effective. Anyway, that's that. Get some contact to clean it into that there. So there's going to be multiple contacts under this probably, so you might need to spray in a few different places, different angles like this. And then do a bit of forwards, backwards like that. It's interesting how long that switch is, and it doesn't stay latched. The mechanism must clip into this and then go like that, or pull it. Maybe it can push and pull it, I don't know. And of course you can get a contact cleaner on these, like that. Ideally you do that just before you plug things in. And some contact cleaner in here. They don't look so clever. Yeah, let's use the toothbrush on those. Yeah, they just look a wee bit oxidised there. It's a cheap PCB, it really is. Yeah, I found a dry joint already, that's barely connected, that. Right, so we're on Kavanos Cam. If I scroll over here, where is it now? I've lost it. Honestly can't remember where it was. There it is. Spot the solder point that doesn't even look connected. It's a resistor. Yeah, look at that big gap around there. I mean, it is just about soldered on over here if you just try and press it. That's loose. I can move that. That won't be making a connection. So if you want to know what that is, if I just flip it over, it's this resistor here. That's 2.2 ohm, isn't it? Gets pretty warm, that must be. I bet that's the power to something. So if there was ever an intermittency issue with this, and yeah, one or two of the other solder points don't look great, yeah, that is going to be a thing. And you can argue it's because it gets hot. You know, you can see it's been getting hot because it's such a low resistance, and it's probably feeding power somewhere. It's probably why that solder point has gone like that. I mean, there was probably never enough. Well, there was never enough solder from manufacture. But yeah, that won't have been helping things, would it? And of course, it would have been interesting to see what issues that caused before we soldered it. At the end here, when it works, just trust me, I'm sure we'd have had all sorts of weird and wonderful problems with this tape deck, including chewing tapes up, not moving the tape round properly. You know, there's a point like that there that's, if I can find where it on the microscope, not brilliant. There's a few like that where you get a cavity around the point where I would just reflow it. I'm not even going to bother removing the flux because this board is covered in it. I often do that on Atari boards, you know, excluding the Falcon. The Falcon's like spotless. But on a lot of these things where you reflow these things, unless you're going to go to the length of cleaning up every single bit of flux off the board, what is the point of me cleaning that solder point when there's all of this stuff here? And it won't cause any problems, the type of flux I use. It's not like super corrosive stuff. This point there, look, can you see that? That barely looks connected, does it? Just there. I'm amazed this thing ever worked. But sometimes you get that with Atari things. I've had that with STs and 2600s and things where you look at it and you think, how did that ever work from factory? I think there was one of those Atari boards, I'm trying to think back now, it was Williams 800, wasn't it, I think, 800XL, where one of the RAM chips didn't even have one of its legs soldered. It was like folded up when they stuck it through the board, and it was just pressed next to the wire. So I reckon that Atari 800XL would have had random RAM issues from factory, from day one. Yeah, you did get some things like this sometimes with these. And not just related to Ataris, from all different products, different manufacturers, bits of solder stuck on there from factory that would have never cleaned off. Can't get rid of that now, it's gone. Anyway, just continuing around here. I mean, look at that bit of solder there, just strewn. I mean, it is attached to the pad, so I'm not going to do anything with that. There's a few of those, look. There's one there. It's like a wire or something. There must be a coil or something on the other side, I don't know. It's a bit mysterious, isn't it? That end one doesn't look so clever either, does it? Whatever this is it's got fine wires, isn't it, to connect to? And if it's a coil of some sort, I'm going to reflow that one as well. I don't like that wire. What is that wire? I don't know. Really mysterious. You know what? I'm going to resolder that. Oh, hang on. Sorry, I punched the camera away there then. I'm going to resolder these as well, because I tell you what I don't like about this. Can you see we've got an exposed trace here? I'm not sure this does not go there, yeah? You're going to get inductive coupling if you're not careful with something like that so close to that. Certainly when that's bare, there. Oh, it's thundering. The gods have taken offence to my complaining about Atari quality of assembly. Can I just move that? There, right, and we get some more solder on it. Yes, it looks a bodgy mess, but what I don't want to do, hang on, is redo these completely. I just want to just tidy them up a bit. Like that. I don't like that. Right, let's get some fresh solder on that. I'm going to clean around that with a cotton bud. I'm just going to flip this over in a second, just see what is that. But I didn't like how close it was to that trace. Yeah, I think we agree that's a bit better. But you see, we don't know what happened to this. Why did this get like that there? And these were very close, anyway, now they're not. I've got a piece of paper towel there, look. Get rid of that. Yeah, they are just wires on the other side, that's all that is. And it's for the SIO, you know, serial input-output interface. look at that again. And that one. Yeah, there is a hole there. That's what that black thing is on that side. Anyway, you can see it's clearly joined now, though. It wasn't so clearly joined previously. Let's try that. That's better. This here is pressing almost right onto that pin below. There you go. Gone. It wasn't shorting, but it wasn't very blooming far away, I'll tell you that. It's absolutely chucking it down out there. Yeah, I found another one here. There's a big hole look around it, but I mean, it's joined into that solder, but, well, me no likey, so that's getting some more solder on it. Yeah, I got a 470 there, and yeah, they're good. They've got high tolerance, good ESR. So, I'm just going to put that one back on. You see, it's good ESR again. Capacitance is alright, yeah, it's 1300 microfarads overrated. But you know what? That's better in capacitance, better, more capacitance. So, again, I wouldn't rush to replace it. It's the same thing I found with lots and lots and lots of these tape decks. Just occasionally, as you'll see in an upcoming video, you get a bad capacitor on them. But it's rarer than you might think. It's not like the SMD caps of the 90s bad cap era, where, you know, things like on the Amiga SMD ones anyway, where they're always bad. Every single one of them leak, every single one of them fail. It's nothing like that. Yeah, so some of the legs are insisting on this, like those are almost crossing there. It's like we're almost crossing the streams. So you'd have to be careful before you reassemble it, and you can't straighten those because the transistor has been mounted in a way that originally may have had a different part, or they got the pin out wrong or something. So just pay attention. Yeah, have a look around this for things touching each other and stuff. This green cap here, its leg nearest the top is almost pressing on that brown cap there. The legs are almost, very, almost touching. I'm just going to just separate them a little bit, a few of these. That's touching a rail. Well, let me show you that. And that looks like that's always been that way. This leg here, on this transistor, is touching this rail. I'm just going to, I may have done that by having it on the bench, I don't know, I'm lifting it up like that. Yeah, that was short. That could have been a bad day when I switched it on. Yeah, again, I'll just ESR test these things. You can do ESR testing in circuit. When you get capacitors in parallel and stuff, of course that doesn't work. You get, you know, double the capacitance coming back and you're like, what's going on here? It's because there's other things on that rail. 0.2. It says in circuit leaky, it's just because it's in circuit, so I'm not going to bother about that. A couple of small ones here, I think. Yeah, I'll lift the leg on that and see what we get. Yeah, so one or two of these I'm going to swap. That 47, I think, what is it, 1.7 ohms or something, 1.2 ohms. Let's just test this other 47. Same voltage range, 10 volts, 0.68, so, you know, it's, I'll swap that one out. But I'm darn sure there's nothing wrong with the caps on this. So again, it's ground towards the connector here. Yeah, right, I'm done with that for now. I've tested a number of things in circuit there, and they're all alright, there's nothing wrong with those caps. So we'll just wait for the belts, and then we'll get it back together and test it. The worst case is I could just come back here and replace the remaining caps, but I don't see the point. Despite the fact I'm not cleaning all of this board up, I am going to clean a few key points here, like around connectors. And of course it goes without saying, when you've had it upside down and on its back and you've been cleaning it and knocking it around, re-inspect to make sure things aren't folded over and touching each other again. That's really the final check you should do before you get it together. Yeah, I'm waiting for those belts to come, but I thought I might just give this a try. I've got an 80mm belt here, which I suspect is going to be right for this main belt, because this mechanism just looks, this everything here looks identical to C64, I think, VIC-20, etc. You know, data set. It's one of those screws that just goes round and round and round. Maybe we should just leave that screw as it is. Just, yeah, it's one of those ones that goes round and round and round. But this screw here is the one that you can usually, on those ones, unscrew, I think, carefully. Don't lose the screw or the washer. And then this here just allows this to lift off, doesn't it? Oh, but you need to undo that one, so this is the problem here. And you see the problem with that one is it's just going round and round and round. With my feeble arms. You can see that's coming out. Maybe that's bigger than 80mm, or maybe it's just stretched. If we put it alongside it. I think 80mm will fit, you know, I think it's going to work. And it's a square belt, so this one is as well, you know, it's got like square edges to it. So let's just carefully try this belt. So I need to do the opposite thing here, lift that and get it through the little gap in the metal, that's it. Around there like that. Yeah, you can see that's going to be tighter here. So of course I will need to just straighten that because it looks like it's got a twist in it actually. Let's just carefully put that screw back into there if we can. Let's see what I'm doing here. I'm going to get this back on there, and you've got to get this the right way because there's like a, you know, a thinner part of it at the top there, and that goes into the black plastic there, I believe. I can try and find the hole. Where's the hole? That's it. That just now means this is held at the right place here, but we do have a twist in the belt to deal with. Anyway, the hard part is over. As I rotate it, I'm just looking at the points just to make sure it's not twisted, and it's not. That looks like that's right. Like sitting it down there like that is probably the first thing to do, maybe. Routing the wires in such a way they don't get crimped, and just getting these mounts lined up, making sure nothing's trapped, I guess. Right, now I've got to try and remember what screw went where. It was the small screws, wasn't it? Get the wire lined up with it and then press down like that. That's one in. Hang on. Get the next one in. That's it. That's two in. Move it out of the way of this thing here. We don't want that to be an issue. You can even argue pull it this way marginally so it doesn't get stuck or something. So then there's just this one connector, and it is a case of lining it up with the, hang on, why have we got an extra screw here? We've got 1, 2, 3, 4 for the lid. Oh god, it's one of these things where I've got an extra screw and I'm like, don't remember where this went. Oh, I know where it went. It went down there. That's also a plastic, yeah, it's a plastic thread, that's right, which is why it's a tapping screw. God, that was hard to find. Get that back onto there, that's it. There was only the one connection. And then does it just sit there, or does it? Yeah, it does, it just sits there like that. And then you can see here now these leaf switches. I don't think it's going to be a problem, look. Yeah, that works. Well, I say it works, I mean it's lined up. And then you can stick the front on last. I'm not going to do that just now. Which one is that? Yeah, for program recorder 1010. So this is the right power supply. I could imagine being really annoyed with all these separate power supplies back in the day. And we've got an SIO cable here. So yeah, they're the same either end, aren't they? There's no right or wrong way to connect those up, I don't think. Switch this on. Yeah, that's interesting. We've got like no power. We've got 4.5 volts AC there. I don't know, I'm inclined to think it's just a bad power supply, I don't know. So the cable's moving around now. Hang on. Yeah, the power supply is dodgy, but it's AC, so if I just carefully try and plug that in, it's probably going to go off again now. Yeah, listen. So, the power supply needs a fix, but just right now the cable's balanced in such a way we seem to have AC. So let's power this on. Press play on cassette recorder, hold down start and option buttons while switching on computer. Press return. Alright, okay. Start and option. God, they made this complicated, didn't they? Switch it on. And then when you get that blinking cursor, you press return. Hey, it's playing. Now, I do need to pay attention to this. Why has it gone to self-test? Let's just carefully stop that and try and eject it. Yeah, the tape looks alright. But it went into self-test. It didn't upload the game at all. I was getting nowhere, and then I flipped the tape over, and this one has actually started loading. And the blocks are going down. So that tells me it could be the tape that's won, but it could be the azimuth. Because what you sometimes find, if the azimuth on the the head is aligned slightly inaccurate, when you flip the tape over, the alignment shifts, so it's slightly better on the other side, which was slightly differently aligned from the first side, if you see what I mean. So I don't know, but who would have played with the azimuth? It's not likely to be the azimuth. Anyway, that side is working. It just could be worn tapes here. This is one of the problems with tapes, though. You can be expecting it to just load, and it can be the tape. But it may work after some exercise. I don't know. Let's see if that loads all the way. What's incredible about this tape in particular is how long the tape is. You look at the width of it, and it's like, it fills the reel. It must be like a 30-minute tape or something. Is it really going to take 30 minutes to load? Filming on the phone here, the camcorder's out of SD card space. And yeah, it struck me how yellow this has gone. And this is a point I was going to talk about really in respect to Retro Brian in general, is if you look how yellow that is, it was nowhere near this yellow. I put this out in the conservatory and I was using it for, I don't know, 2 or 3 months, one summer before last, I think. And the keys went back to like white, pretty much, just like my 1200. So like when these things are in the sun, you don't get this yellowing. It's only when they're put into an absolutely dark environment. I've seen exactly the same thing on the SNES, on the Nintendo Game Boy, on the GameCube, on the front of it, the grey part on the front of my GameCube, that went yellow again. And as soon as you get it out, put it in the sun, just not like direct sunlight, I'm talking about just in a room with lots of light, lots of daylight, you find that it certainly, after it's had a month or two with summer sort of daylight and stuff, it starts to go back to white again. So this is why you don't see very much Retro Brian on my channel. If this was mine, I would have this in a main room where you've got lots of natural light at the windows, and I guarantee a year or so sat there on a table, it'll go back to its normal colour, as will this. So I just don't see any point in Retro Brian at all. It's a completely pointless thing. And if you think about it, all of these systems have all gone yellow. People are like, oh, it's been in the sun. No, they haven't, because it's like all of them, nearly all of them have gone yellow. So you're telling me that all of those systems, every single one of the hundreds of thousands of different systems that got white plastics, have all been in really strong, bright sunlight where it's made it go yellow. That isn't what's happened. It's been in a dark place. It's been in a box, it's been in a shed, it's been in an attic, it's been in a loft, where there is no natural light. So Retro Brian is pointless. It is absolutely pointless, really. What are your thoughts on that? What I would say is this has been incredibly hard to get it to even start. Oh, I dropped the thing on. Oh, I dropped the bleeding IPA onto the tape deck and we got a boot error. I'll show you what I did. I just went, that's it. That's all I did. So clearly, it's not a happy bunny, is it? I'm going to swap over to that other game now. Is that a bit shorter? Let's have a look at the length of the tape. Now, what is it with these tapes on the Atari? They're massive. It's on that last block. And it's loaded. Oh, I've just realised this is that god-awful game on the C16, isn't it, I think? Yeah, it's joystick only. I'm trying Pitfall 2 here. And on its default A side, it's been loading for a few minutes here. We're down to the last 2 or 3 blocks. So, yeah, I think those tapes are just not great. No issues loading that at all. It worked first time. So, very, very pleased. I'm sure it's perfect. I'm sure there's nothing wrong with it. I think it's just the first 2 tapes I've tested. The B-sides work on one of them. The B-side almost works on the other one, and the A-sides don't. And Spy vs. Spy 2, that works fine on both sides. It's almost loaded again there. It's taken me ages to test these. This one's been going for about 15 minutes. That loaded okay. It's quite quiet. Which is interesting because the actual tape loading volume is really loud. Let's see if we can start this. Spacebar, start game. There we go. Oh, it's loaded again. Really? Ah, you have got to be kidding me. I cannot believe, honestly, that took about 20 odd minutes to load. And then we start the game, and here we are loading again. I mean, right, there's not much left on the tape, but why? Surely there's enough RAM in this. Maybe it was aimed at the lower RAM spec or something, you know, not 64K or whatever. I'm just looking at the box. It doesn't say how much RAM it needs, which is an interesting one, isn't it? It's just Atari. Bear in mind, this XC has got her Meg, but, well, it's a multi-loader, isn't it? Spy vs. Spy was never a multi-loader on any of the other 8-bits, as far as I know. There we go. I mean, what happens when you quit out? I don't know. Maybe because we've got the additional RAM, it's you know, it's not going to reload again. So let me see if I can work out the controls again. I don't know what the fire button is. I'm just going to let him beat me because I'm curious to see what happens when it's game over. Does it ask me to rewind the tape again? Maybe I was supposed to reset the counter when it had loaded, and then I could rewind it that little bit, and imagine that's going to load the same bit I've just had, so I don't honestly know. I'd be horrified if I had to rewind the tape right back to the beginning again. The aim of this, by the way, is to get the 3 parts of the bomb and then exit the island. And the exit is random, so you've got you go off the coast into the water, and if there's a boat or a submarine or whatever picks you up, great. If it doesn't, you go straight back and try it one of the different coast areas. What is the computer doing there? It's just sat there. Look. He's planted the missile there in the 2 pieces. A lot of people don't get how to play this, and it is really, really, really simple. So, like, I think in this one, you dig holes, and then you can put these little sticks over the top of a hole. You can use the rope trap on the trees. You know, it takes a bit of faffing around to get used to how to do it. You've got the gun, which only has about 2 or 3 shots, I think, you can use to shoot the enemy. You've got napalm things here, which you can just plant in the ground. And, you know, the appeal like this, anything that's buried is 3 little dots, and if you pick the little things up, you know, you obviously dig the item up. But if it's napalm, it'll blow you up. There's another one there. Is that napalm? I don't know. There's another one that's like fuel that you can put into little holes and things and blow people up, and then you've got the map at the bottom. And obviously the spade is what you need to dig a hole. I mean, maybe I could show you that. Let's just... Control and... Alright, you've got to use control. Where's control? God, that's a confusing control layout, I think. There you go, I pressed control on that. There you go, that's what I was doing wrong. See, if you play with joystick, you don't need to do that. So I've dug 2 holes there, get rid of the... Alright, let's try and get that stick. Got the stick. There you go, you just move into it, and that's hidden now. And if you were to walk over it, well, you fall into it. So yeah, it does take a little bit of fiddly getting used to things, but certainly on the Atari version, because you've got to use control and space and Q as like fire buttons, effectively. You've got 3 different buttons to do firing. This would be one of these games, maybe if you got the right joystick, you might be able to support more than 2 buttons. I don't know what the computer's doing down here. I know his IQ level's set pretty low, but he's just sat there. He's not doing anything at all. The AI on this version is nowhere near as good as the C64 version. For sure. Like, what's he doing? I mean, obviously he's intelligent enough to attack me, look. I think maybe because the IQ level's low, he's not looking for the other piece. Let's just see if we can go over here. Got that thing, you can go up. There you go, I think. There you go, to the next part. If I find the next bit, maybe he'll come after me. Because he'll see it on his map, you see. Once a piece has been discovered, it appears on the map. Oh, and you go through quicksand. You've got to wiggle, holding down control, it seems. God, it's hard to get out of that. We've only got 50 seconds left. There we go. It's nearly game over. Anyway, I'll just sit in the quicksand. Yeah, you got this timer thing here as well. So what I like about this is you can choose obviously the difficulty and the the IQ that is, and then the level all the way up to 8. And the islands get bigger and bigger and bigger. You can have many more rows and columns and things. Makes it much harder. And you obviously get a bigger time limit for a bigger island. It's a really cool game though. My fond memories of this though were from playing on the C64. Well, it looks pretty much identical. It's very similar. Alright, see what happens with game over. 1. Boom. Rewind and play? Rewind where? Where do I need to rewind? I don't remember it saying reset the counter. Oh my god. That is really, really, really annoying. I'm glad I've got a disk drive solution for the Atari. Let's just press play. I don't know how far we rewind. And I'm now royally confused. Rewinding to the beginning was the right thing. That took about 60 seconds-ish, maybe 50 to 60 seconds. And it's back on again. Which means the part of code it needs here now is at the start of the tape. But what happens now when you start it again? Has it got that in memory because we've got enough memory? This is what I don't get. So let's start the game again. Press return. This is really, really weird. So it's like the bit that the chunk that it swaps out after it's loaded and then started the actual game is also, or the part that gets overwritten is right at the start of the tape. So then you press play and then it loads that again. It's now continuing on. But you see, the part we did here now, when we first loaded it, is right at the end of the tape. We're nowhere near the end of the tape. So is this now going to need to play for the 10 odd minutes or more to get to that point? This is what I don't get. It's really strange how they've done this. And bear in mind, we've got 128k as default in this now. But we've also got a meg, so we've got plenty of RAM here. Certainly the 128k. Did I say 128 meg? 128k with 1 meg in total, beyond that, if you think about it. And yet, yeah, look, how's that worked? So, I don't know. That's just weird, isn't it? The tape's obviously stopped, it's loaded again. It's almost like, if I was to guess, the game is there multiple times across the tape and you're loading the whole bleeding lot, God knows how many times to start with, to skip the bits. What's wrong with just resetting the counter? What's wrong with getting people to reset the counter and rewind it? That's what I don't get. I mean, in theory, I think maybe what's happening here is at the start of the tape is the 2 key blocks that you need to swap between, and they're also at the end of the tape. So when it says just rewind the tape, yeah, that's easier than faffing around with a counter. But all that means is the initial load, you're loading a block that you don't need, and then a block you do need, and then the rest of the game, and then having to load the block that you need that you didn't need before, if you see what I'm trying to say. So there's I don't know, I would say a few minutes of wasted time loading it because you're skipping over a block that you need to then pick up later and reload. And what's more mysterious about that, it says it needs 48k. I'm guessing this is where the issue is. If it was 64k, it would all fit into the RAM. We've got more than 64k. So why they couldn't have just put a bit of code in there to go, a bit like they do on the Spectrum, or you've got the additional RAM, just load the whole thing. I don't know. It's laziness, if you ask me. There you go, computer's escaped. And it says play. Hang on. Play? Right, so I'm just playing now from this point. This makes me think that the same two blocks alternate over and over and over at the beginning of the tape. Which means that the first, it's not just 2 minutes wasted time, it might be 5 minutes or so of wasted loading time. There you go. Now it's loaded the end bit. You've got to load the end bit as well. Oh my god. That's terrible. How have I never heard this about Spy vs. Spy 2 on the Atari 8-bit? This is the worst version, I want to say. Yeah, it looks and sounds just like the C64 version. It's going to make me load again now. Look at this rewind and press play. Blooming multi-loader. That's nuts. And the Lone Raider worked first time. Let's just hit start. It's very 2600 looking, isn't it? Yeah, I don't have a joystick connected at the moment. Cool sound effects. And that worked okay, so let's hit start. Oh-hoo! I'm not sure if you can use keys on this or not. Probably not. I've paused it now, but lots of keys pause it. It's not just like one or two, it's anything really. Yeah, any key press pauses it. Let's do joystick. It's quite cool. No music though. Not sure if Arkanoid 2 was on the sorry, but this is the first one, isn't it? Makes you smaller, doesn't it, I think? Oh no, it doesn't, it makes it slow. I like the laser, come on, give me the laser. That is slow, that's very slow. It does speed up again after a number of bounces. Oh, speeds it up, that's what that is. It was P for P me off. E? Extends it, does it? Yep, there we go. A huge bat now, look. Give me a laser. There it is, there's the laser. Oh yes. You can only fire 2 shots. That's a wee bit limited, I think, to the other 8-bits. You can fire a lot more than 2 shots in a go. I think B gives you more balls, doesn't it? It splits it into like 2 or 3 or something. 3, I think. Can I get the last ones? Get the last ones? Get the last ones? Yay! Round 2. You should carry the laser forward, shouldn't you? Be able to beat the whole game on one set of lasers, probably. It's not like an upgrade, is it? Slow's like a downgrade. It's like no one wants to go that slow. If you miss it when it's going that slow, you've got some serious lack of skills, that's all I can say. Oh, go away. Oh, you... There's a word beginning with B. And it wasn't bat. Or ball. Doing alright here, aren't I? This is probably the furthest I've ever got on Arkanoid. What the... I don't know, where are we going? Are we going to get through there? Why have they stopped? Why are they going downwards? What? Some of these games, you've got to wonder what these developers were on at the time when they were creating them. Come on, go, go, go. We made it. Don't know what's there, we've made it though. There's nothing. There's nothing here. What's that? What? Automatic function engaged. It's probably back down at the bottom again. What? Yeah, I think this is one of those games that you absolutely need to read the instructions for. I don't know what I'm doing. Nothing's killing me and everything's just annoying me. Yeah, and I wasn't filming there. It had the Ghostbusters at the beginning. Yeah, sorry for my cheesy impression. It sounded just like the C64 version though. We might get it when we start it. Let's hit start. Where's start? Maybe not. See if we can catch it. No sample. Yeah, the difference between the C64 version and this is when you wobble left and right here. On the C64, the ghost on top moves offset by 1 pixel either way. It wobbles like it's loose on the top. That was just an oversight by the programmer, I think, that he didn't realise he had a 1 pixel offset or something to do with movement there. I think we should be able to suck these ghosts up, shouldn't we? We've got a ghost trap. Or the vacuum. Here we go. Big Jack loaded okay. Obviously, you walk across the platform, just like, hang on, and then blow up. What? What killed me there then? I know what killed me there, the spider, but what killed me on the top? Maybe you can only collect these notes in a certain order or something. What, is that spike on the roof, maybe? Yeah, it's the spike on the roof, isn't it? That's so annoying. So, if we go there... Oh, Olive killed me. Oh my god, everything's out to kill you. Yeah, so loading encounter. These magazine things are very nostalgic, but also funny. The graphics and sound in this 3D simulation are stunning, in quotes. You want to see a PlayStation 5, mate? Encounter is a game that will have arcade game lovers riveted to their screens for hours on end, because it provides the proper balance of action, realism and variety. Realism? Really? Yeah, I remember when real life was like that back in the 80s. That's exactly what it was like. Let's hit start. I'm not really sure what you do. It's another one to read the instructions on. I mean, right, the 3D visuals are okay for 80s. Hang on. It reminds me of that Atari tank game that I forget the name of, Battlezone. Yeah, see, I took that down, whatever that was. So look at the radar, you can see that dot. There's something there. Wow, that like teleported, didn't it? What's that mean? Ah. Back it up as I'm... There we go. Hey! I've mastered this. Oh, there's another one coming. Yeah, you've got to look at the radar, move away from it. Steer the right way, obviously. What's that mean? What's the boss or something? What? Yeah, I think I just teleported. Where am I going now? Into a planet, by the looks of things. It's not bad, this. I can see why it got the praise it got, really. So, right, so I had a clean inside with some IPA and paper towels. Got rid of all the dirt and stuff. Used some cotton buds as well. You could obviously wash that in the sink before you reassemble it. Anyway, I'm going to clean that window up with some plastics. We've got a scratch, a little black mark there. It's just a pressure mark from the cable. We'll give it a gentle polish with some plastics. Being careful to avoid this because you can see it's got the odd scratch on it, and that print will wear off if you use polishes and things on that if you're not careful. You could literally just dust it, you know, so in other words, just don't put pressure. You could just wipe over it really super gently with some cotton or something and a bit of polish. Let's get the LED back on here. Like that. That's it. That's clips there. There we go. So the bottom clips are in. The one we glued is down there, and it's still in one piece. No issues at all. So then you can just literally sit this on top. So it looks like the base. If you remember this, you know, in terms of reverse assembly, the base wants to go off upwards first. I think if we just get that all aligned properly now, like that, and it doesn't feel like that's going in, does it? If you get the front on there, that's it. It's on the front part, and it's gone back together, and everything's good. All the clips are good, no issues. the light, it's just light scratches. So I'll get a little bit of that on. And you're best off using, you know, like a, I don't know, cotton, maybe even cotton wool or something to polish something like this, but some gentle circles there. The polish all over my thumb. There we go, that looks like new. I'm sorry the video was almost as long as trying to load a couple of Atari 8-bit games. Yeah, as you can see, Atari things have exploded all over the bench, and I've got a disk drive down there to look at as well. So we'll cover this tape deck in another video. We'll have a look at this again in another video, a few different videos actually, and obviously the 1050 disk drive. And again, that'll be a few videos. So yeah, I'm sorry this video took so long to get around to doing, Tom. You can see I got these perfects here with that bit of precision filing and stuff. So the only thing I would say to Tom is, if you press play here, hang on, no, it's not play, is it? It's rewind. If you're bothered by that little thing down there, you know, you can see the nut. It's sort of hidden really by the lip there, but you can see the nut on that little metal thing. You could get some brown silicone and just put a tiny little bead. I'd do it with the lid off, the key on its own maybe. You put a bead of brown silicone over the top of that and you wouldn't see it. Certainly if you could get like a dark brown silicone. But anyway, it works, it's solid. I'll send all the spares back to Tom as well. And that button is holding with that bolt and that square or rectangular washer. And the other keys, you know, are obviously epoxied and stuff by whoever looked at this previously. So yeah, it had a new belt. It was an 80cm one. You can use the same belts from the C64, from the VIC-20, etc. The new belt arrived and I measured it up. It's exactly the same size, so there's no issues. And the counter belt, still on its original one, but it works really, really well. And I found that with a few of these tape decks, you know, this one included, that I didn't need to swap the counter belt, because the counter belt, by design, is supposed to be pretty slack. Because the last thing you want is, when this is rotating around on its little wheel, to put tension on the thing that's feeding it. So it's designed to be just really loose, and you don't need very much torque to turn that round, that counter. You could just literally do it with your little finger, just feather touch it and it goes round. That's the whole idea behind that. So you seldom ever need to replace the counter belt. It might be like one out. In other words, if you played to the end of the tape and then you rewind it back to the beginning, you might find it says 001. Yeah, well, that's not a big deal. It generally works. You can see the end result came out pretty well. Most of the marks came off there with a bit of bicarb soda and some polish. And yeah, it's ready to wing its way back to Tom. I hope you found that interesting. If you'd like to support the channel, please see the Ko-fi and Patreon links down below. I'll catch you in the next video.